Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Second Act Actors. I'm your host, Dr. Janet McMorty, and I'm still a medical doctor simultaneously trying to pursue a career in acting. My guest this week is Ahmed Mokdad. Oh, my goodness, Ahmed. What a guy. He and I met at the Simcoe County Theater Festival 2 years ago now, I think. My goodness. He and I were both in plays at the Simcoe County Theater Festival, and we connected because he is a lifeguard turned actor. I should clarify. He's a lifeguard and actor, simultaneously pursuing acting while also having a very successful career as a lifeguard with the city of Toronto. He has an amazing story to tell, and he's an absolute gem of a human being. You may also see his adorable cat, Mona, if you're watching on YouTube. She made a little entrance. It was very adorable. We love cats on this show. We love animals on this show. Bring them on if you're going to be a guest. Anyway, please enjoy the incredible joy that is Ahmed Mokdad. Oh my gosh. The most interesting things are when you don't really have a plan and they just come out of people.
They just happen. Yeah, right. Yeah. That's that. I feel the same way with acting. I think, the best acting comes when you let go of just like, this is how I want to do it, or this is how I was directed to do it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's so true. So tell me your story. How did you get into acting?
Acting has kind of just been around for a long time. I got into acting in high school. I was a huge fan of shows like Friends and How I Met Your Mother and Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. And I would pay close attention. I would watch a lot of the bloopers. And through watching bloopers was when I was kind of like, I love how much fun these guys are having while they tell the story. And they're telling such cool stories. And I want to kind of get to like laugh and be a part of that kind of dynamic with a bunch of friends doing comedy. And so in grade 10, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it out. We'll take a drama class. And at first I was like, too cool. No, I'm too cool for this. This is not for me. And then like maybe like a week into grade 10, and I grew up in Edmonton, by the way. So over there we start high school in grade 10. So it was my first year of high school. And so I was, it was kind of like that idea of like, do I really want to stick? Do I really want to be in a drama class for the whole school year? And then I realized, yeah, I do want to be in a drama class for the whole school year, and that was kind of how it happened. I realized that was just one day I went into the acting rehearsal. We were rehearsing for the play Hairspray. I got one of the background roles. I played Sketch. And that was kind of like my in into the world. It was through musical theater, yeah.
So you get into it during high school. What happens after high school? Do you go to theater school? What brings you to Toronto?
Well, after high school, I was gonna go to university in Edmonton. It was just kind of like a for fun while you were in high school type of thing, just like a hobby. At least that was like how my parents ingrained it in me. They're like, yeah, you can do the drama classes and all that, but after high school is done, you're gonna go to university, right? And so I applied to a bunch of universities in Edmonton, but I didn't get into the one that I wanted to get into. I wanted to become a teacher, and I didn't get in just because I spent so much time focusing on acting when I was in high school that I didn't really do too good in my normal classes. And because of that, my options were a little bit limited. And so what I did was I took a year off, and then I just kind of went back to like after school to just kind of upgrade my marks. And just kind of like my parents were like, all right, you might as well like go upgrade your marks and work a little bit before you go to university. And I'm like, I do want to like try out this acting thing because while I was doing that first year out of high school, I worked a lot, but I also did a lot of like local theater, just volunteering, and and at different like locations within Edmonton. That was kind of like where I realized that this can be something that I can do forever, even if it's not a career. It's something I just want to be involved in, even if I'm just giving like my volunteer time, just to entertain, to see people's faces kind of like light up, and to work with all these cool artists. But I think it was in January. My mom asked me. She said, "So January 2019. So what do you want to do?" And I said, I want to go to Toronto. I want to move to Toronto. And I want to try acting full time." And she was like, "All right, that's what you want to do. You go try and do that." At that point, my mom was already very like sold on the fact that like her son can be an actor. But before then, it wasn't like that. It was when I was in my grade 12 year, and I think maybe even after that, like when I started doing theater locally, and like my mom saw how much I loved it. At that point, I'd been doing it for 4 years too. So like it was like she saw that it wasn't something that was gonna be boring, like that I was gonna fall out of that, or that I was gonna like not be sustainable at, or not understand very well. And so it was in high school, my grade 12th year, I got to play the lead character in our musical that we did that year. We did In the Heights, if you've heard of it. And I got to play Usnavi. So because like I love like hip hop. Hip hop has been ingrained in me since I was like 9, which is kind of like a little iffy. like why am I 9 years old listening to hip hop? But at the same time, like I loved it. And so like to me, it was like this part is mine. If we're gonna do this play, I have to play Usnavi. And it was my drama friends. They were the ones who convinced my drama teacher to do this new play. She's never done before, because she used to always just do Hairspray, Grease, and Crazy for You, and all these different like plays that everyone knows, Footloose. And then she was like, we'll try something new. And when we did the auditions for that, I did like 8 auditions for it. Where instead of like the regular just like song and a monologue, I did 4 songs, and I think I did like 2 monologues, and then I did 1 number from the actual musical itself. And the other songs that I sang were all rap songs. Like I did like The Lonely Island. I sang one of their songs. I did like oh man, yeah. I had some fun with that one. And my parents saw that, and then they were like, yeah, okay, we get it. Maybe he can actually try this out. Yeah,
that's awesome. And it's interesting because like I think that happened like earlier in your life, like almost like parental acceptance, compared to, I would say, a lot of people, the fact that it happened at all, right? I think that's the vein that I see through a ton of people who are like, I call as second act actors, right? Like is the reason why they didn't go into acting in the first place was from parental figures, well-meaning or not, saying, maybe go to something more sensible.
Right.
Yeah, tell me more about that. Like, I know you kind of mentioned it briefly that there was that kind of bit of pressure, but then this shift in grade 12, that's exciting.
Definitely. I think the shift happened just kind of out of like, it was kind of like a eureka thing. Maybe like they saw me, and that same night, my mom came up to me and she said like, "You gotta try this out. You gotta like continue doing this. It's cool." And because she saw me like singing and rapping and dancing at the center stage. It's much different than if you're like in the background. I think, to a certain extent, you have to really like put so much effort and work into like being the one that's seen in order to get that parental acceptance. I think I just kind of understood that I couldn't tell them I wanted to do this. But even till now, like my parents don't want me to just do acting. They one of the questions that you asked me, and I wrote the answer to. You asked how would my parents describe me, like how would my parents describe what I do for a living, and I would say like they would describe me as like an artist within the film industry, but they wouldn't say that I am an actor. They would say I'm a creative within the industry. Like it's because I want to be more involved off camera as well. Like that's what my degree that I'm studying for right now is. It's production management. And so I think, my parents like this idea of like an actor, I think they're very like I don't know how to explain it. Like they're understanding of the now, and so they understand all that. But they're immigrant parents. I think I got very, very lucky like with my parents, because they're not the most easygoing in other things. And I think probably my brothers being really successful in their own fields, so like that probably gave them the idea, like, okay, we'll let Ahmed have his fun. Yeah.
Are you the youngest?
No, I'm in the middle. My little brother, my little brother, he just got accepted for his PhD, right outside of his degree. He just finished his degree and he's going to do his PhD right away. Yeah, he had professors fighting for him. He's studying a lot in neurology. Yeah, he's a big, smart guy. And my older brother, he's a software engineer.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Do you find, like, you kind of mentioned it, and I think, to throw a stereotype about immigrant parents that we hear so much about, like the deeming of success being like doctor, lawyer, engineer, nothing else, because people who came into this country fought so hard to get into this country and bring their family there. There's this feeling of, this is what I deem success because we need to have success for survival.
Sure.
But now that you have other siblings who've done that, is the pressure now just off? They're like, Ahmed will do his own thing. We've got 2 successful sons. He can go to whatever he wants.
I would love if that was the actual case, but I think it's quite the opposite, honestly. I think my parents pay more attention to me than they do my brothers. Like they give me maybe twice the amount of attention that they give my brothers, because they know my brothers are going to be all right. Like, they're smart kids, but they're more introverted. They know they're going to keep out of trouble. Whereas with me, I am the trouble. And so to them, they've always just kind of had to, like, keep an eye on me. Yeah, but I think also my parents, they love television, and they love actors. Both my parents, they'll spend days and days, or like all their nights, they'll just like sit in the living room and just watch Arabic TV, shows that they've watched before, or new shows, and the actors that they like. And so to them, I think it's more along the lines of like they're happy that one of their kids is able to express themselves the way that they want to, and that it's in something that they are familiar with. Like, my parents have very strict rules at what I'm doing. Even like right now, even though I'm an adult and I live on my own, they tell me there's specific things that you cannot do. Like, sure, there's a lot of like parties and a lot of drinking that goes on, but they say don't go to any of that. Stay home, go out with your friends, go watch movies instead. Do those little things. Like when it comes to like girls, like don't get distracted type of thing, So all these different rules, because they know I get influence and pressure often. I'm easily influenced. I love the collaboration. So to me,
yeah,
the like the bar of boundaries has to be set by them. Yeah,
got it.
Yeah.
So what brings you to so you moved to Toronto? You want, like, I was about to say what brings you to Toronto, but obviously the allure of the city. But like, that's a big move by yourself.
Yeah, it was quite an intense move. I don't think I was ever scared though. I think I was just very excited to get started. To me it was, I don't know how to explain it, because COVID kind of just like threw everything off the loop. So like when I came here, it was in 2019, and I had spent 6 months before basically working 60 hours a week, and I was going to get to that, but basically like I do have a second career, and this is kind of my parents' way of like being like, okay, we know he's going to be okay, because I work in life saving. I'm a lifeguard and I'm a swimming instructor, and so being a swimming instructor, like, that pays pretty well, and it also, it's a very fun job that's very related to acting in a certain way. There's a lot of similarities. And also, like, I'm now like starting to go into more aquatics leadership positions. So like becoming a coordinator with the city of Toronto, and doing more work as a first aid instructor. I think I did a lot of that before I came to Toronto. So like in Edmonton, I was already certified and ready to go. So I think that was probably why I wasn't so scared, because I knew, like, sure, I came to Toronto to like act and like go to school and have some create this new life. But also, I came here. I was, I know I have a job and I'm gonna be all right. And I have something that I enjoy doing that I'm already like established in. That's outside of acting. It's something to keep me kind of grounded. I think that just having the lifeguarding job has saved my life in more times than I can count living here in Toronto. Like just financially and more like on the mental side, like living in Toronto on your own. To be able to be part of the community just makes you feel more, I guess, welcomed into the city. Yeah.
Yeah. Tell me more about that. I think, that's a lovely way of, saving your own life, but also you are literally life-saving as a lifeguard.
Right? Yeah. Kind of ironic.
Yeah. Tell me how ironic, right? Tell me more about that job. How did you get into that? Sure. And then more about, the similarities you're mentioning about that and acting. I'm so curious.
Okay. I was gonna ask you the exact same question about how you got into being a doctor and then how the choice to change and plus you just came back from like being in like Winter Olympics, was it?
It was the Winter University Games. Yeah,
the University Games.
Olympics are the Winter Olympics are the largest. This is the second largest.
Right after it. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. I have so many questions about that because that looks so cool. But I guess I'll answer yours first. My dad was the one who kind of got me into lifeguarding and lifesaving, the industry. I worked at McDonald's throughout high school, and I didn't really like that job very much. It was a great job. I met some really interesting people, and I got pretty far in the ranks. I was basically promoted to become like a floor manager, but at that same time when like I was offered like this, like people started talking like, oh, like you should become like a floor manager. Now you're ready and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to like be around the fast food area. Like just looking around and smelling the air, it wasn't kind of for me. And so I told my dad, I said, I don't want to do this job anymore. It's not fun anymore. And he said, well, then go. Well, a friend of mine, his kid teaches swimming. Do you want to do that? And I was like, so I know how to swim. Yeah, why not? And so I took the bronze medallion class, like to see my life-saving skills. I passed that, and then I took the bronze cross, and then I was certified. And then I started assistant teaching with my bronze cross, and then using like assistant teaching, just like voluntary. Using those hours, I got my instructor's course done. And then I became an instructor up until I graduated high school. That was in grade 12, around the same time I did In the Heights. And then after high school was over, when I got my diploma in Edmonton, it's different than here. Over here, which is kind of odd, you can be hired to become a lifeguard at 16, but in Edmonton, you have to have a high school diploma in order to become a lifeguard. You have to be over 18 and you have to have a high school diploma. So, which is different than here. So I thought it was kind of interesting. But anyways, I got into lifeguarding after I've already been an instructor for like a year, maybe. And once I became a lifeguard, that was when I realized that, yeah, okay, like I can do this. Because instructing was fun and all, but it was a lot of commotion. And in Edmonton, it's the way that they run the classes is a little different than the way they run it here. Here, it's a lot more, I think, to my style. And also being a lifeguard gave me the opportunity to progress in the aquatics industry outside of just being an instructor, like becoming a supervisor and whatnot. Yeah. So that was how I got into it.
Yeah. What's you noticed similarities between lifeguarding and act?
Well, in both careers, you have to do a lot of waiting, just vigilantly, just kind of like staring and just kind of hanging out. In one job, lifeguarding, I'm just waiting for an emergency to happen, and in acting, I'm waiting for someone to say my name and just get started. I guess you can say a lot of waiting, but I think like to a more like honest answer, there's a lot of, you have to really know how to control your breath, and when you're good to be a good swimmer, like to be able to save someone's life inside the water, And to be a good actor, I think you also have to have really good breath control, just understanding of how your breath works. I think also instinctual behavior is an important one. So like to be able to know the right instincts and I think the one thing that I learned about acting through lifeguarding would be that repetition matters so much. And I think, to a certain extent, maybe sometimes I get conditioned as an actor to be like, oh, try to stay authentic. Don't repeat it too much. But when you put it like in a seat, like a life-saving scenario, you have to have done so many training opportunities and my cat and situations like, she's just like, oh no, stop it. Stop it here. Come say hi.
Oh
There she is. This is Mona.
Hi, Mona.
Hi, Mona. You want to
Oh my God, she's so cute.
Oh, okay.
Oh, all right.
Yeah, she likes to bite on the
Son
wire.
being on the camera. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, no, not for me. Anyways, instincts. You have to trust your instincts as a lifeguard. 1 second miscommunicated is like could cost someone's life, and so and I'm sure you understand that being a doctor, working in the health and safety field, to know how good your instincts are, to be able to trust your blink, as Malcolm Gladwell says, it's really important. Yeah.
That is so interesting. And let me know if you resonate with this. So what I notice when I'm in a emergency situation, so like the one that always comes to my mind because I do it fairly often, is like an emergency C-section. Like it's like seconds, right? And everything goes really, really quickly. But if you've practiced, like you said, that repetition, there's no panic involved, right? Mm-hmm. I notice I get a tunnel vision, weird sense of calm that comes over me when I know I need to be very instinctual, quickly and fast. Do you find that as well? Like when you're in that scenario, like there's no panic. There's a weird calmness that comes over me that kind of sometimes I wish I could tap into in other parts of my life.
yeah. There's a sense of stillness. I think. I don't know. I'd like to think of it as you're almost dreaming, like because you're not worried about all these other things that would stress you out, like I could do something wrong, or like this person could die. But you're just more so worried about how your hand placement is, or like you're more worried about physical things. And when you're present in a physical sense, then your sense of calm, I think, is like kind of correlates with them, maybe, perhaps. At least that's what I found. I've been lucky enough where most of the situations that I've had to deal with have been pretty like they end before they get bad. That like they're prevented before it gets to a point where I'm so like in an emergency setting. But there was a time when somebody's and I don't know how graphic we can be right now, but like a person would have like a major bleeding incident, or like an open wound in the water. And even if my job as one of the second responders or the third responders, like the second lifeguard on the scene, would be more like crowd control, I think that's still a pretty like intense thing to do. And you can get more carried away doing the more or like the less life-saving things and more like personal relations related jobs than you would in like not knowing what to do in a first aid situation, I think. Because we train so much in the first aid situation, but we don't train as much with the personal relations.
I want to touch on again something that you said that just made me think about repetition. And I think about that with like the games I just finished. We would practice and practice and practice our like extraction skills, the first responder skills, because the more you practice, the better it's going to be. And you get that physicality down and you feel comfortable with it. So you can have that sense of stillness and calm. But I agree with you. You mentioned something about authenticity. Like in acting, you don't want to practice. There's a worry about practicing too much that it gets inauthentic. But to
an extent, yeah.
Yeah, tell me more.
Exactly. I think when it comes to repetition, you've taken classes with Louis Spolmander before. Mm-hmm. Have you taken classes with Louis himself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to be on my podcast in like 3 weeks. I'm so excited.
Oh, no way. What? That's so cool. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, just to be prepared for a whole hour of just him
I'm
giving
so excited.
Gold. Yeah. That's great. Well, I think, like what I have to answer about that is a lesson that I learned from Lewis about, like, when it comes to repetition, it doesn't have to always be repeating the lines, because the lines can be learned based off of your memory. It's more of a cognitive thing than it is a behavioral thing. Like I guess sorry, it's more of like of a biological thing than it is a behavioral thing. Whereas if you want to kind of practice the behaviors and be in more control in that sense, more calm and being in a high stakes environment, you can do repetitions by just practicing the way an athlete would practice, by, like, if you sit down and meditate and think about being sad and think about being angry and things that make you angry, the people who make you angry, why they make you angry, and all these different feelings that are other than angry. I think once you, like, just practice the ability to, like, do that memory recall, not necessarily memory recall, but just like how you react to a certain association, then it doesn't matter what the words are. I think the repetition will come from the understanding of what works when, but it really all comes to, I guess what I mean by repetition is practice, like practice the way an athlete would practice. Like, you do 20 reps of one feeling.
And yes. And so that's really interesting. I think I've talked about this before on this podcast about my own personal experiences with bringing up tough emotions. And, like, I remember I get auditions for, like, stressed out mom of toddler a lot.
Sure.
And I'm like, great. Honestly, I love it. What I found really interesting was, when I was first starting out, I'd say, okay, I'm going to do this self-tape for stressed out mom of toddler after a big, crazy day of work where I'm already stressed out. So I'm going to come home and already have that emotion within me, and it's going to be so authentic, which was was false. What I would find would be the most authentic would be when I could sit and, like, meditate and get cleared away, get that stillness, like you said. Mm-hmm. And then I was able to bring up stressed out mom from nothing, which I didn't think was a thing. I thought, oh, look at me. My life's already stressful. Let's put it on camera. No, it just didn't work, which was new to me because, again, like, I'm just learning how to do this. So I think that's, the biology of it is just fascinating.
It is, isn't it? It's one of these things that keep surprising me every day about this job. Like how is it that I have a friend of mine? He is such a great actor. The one thing he doesn't do is put on a show. Like, he doesn't. He's a very just kind of like, he reminds me a lot of like a Christian Bale maybe, or like a Johnny Depp perhaps. He's very, like, kind of introverted, like kind of conserved to himself, and as soon as he needs to entertain or he's, like, exploring himself in a scene, then so much comes out of him, and you watch him and it's so raw. And then as soon as it's done, he's back to, like, all right. And he's very self-critical of himself. Like, he's very self-critical of himself, which I think kind of goes hand in hand in your ability to kind of be more ignorant to, like, how the camera sees you. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like because the way that he's critical about himself, it's not how he looked or, like, the way his hand was. It's a little bit more on, like, he wasn't trying to say what he just said. He was trying to say something else, and it didn't come out the way he wanted it to. And, like, he's self-critical in that sense. And I enjoy watching him work. I just like watching him, like, do his thing because you see that sense of stillness doesn't go away when the camera cuts.
Yeah.
I think that takes a while. Yeah.
I think it does, right? I think that, and that's I don't know, I think that's the tough thing about acting, that so many people think it's something that, yeah, there are some actors who it's innate, right? They are born talented. They're born that way, and they're just plucked from obscurity, and they never needed to go to school. And it's just a natural instinctive talent. But I truly think so much of the ability to do that, and when you listen to actors speak about their education and their training, like they never, for the most part, never stop training, because that stillness can be taught and worked on and trained.
Yeah, absolutely. I guess I never even looked at it like that. I've always taken classes because the main reason for me to take an acting class, is to meet people and have fun. So like, I guess to a certain extent, I'm really just trying to understand how to be more still.
Yeah,
because I've not been still. Like, you ask my mom, she'll tell you like she had to like cuff me when I was a kid. Being still is not something I know how to do. But I look at my brothers and the way they talk, I'm like, that's like capturable. That's so authentic and so you, because you're not worried about all these different things that an actor worries about.
Well, and I think, do you think your background in theater, like that would propel you to succeed in theater? Because theater acting is so big to project the emotions to the back of the theater. Where film and television, it's like, don't move at all. You just need to think it, and you can see it in your eyes. It's so still. Yeah, breath. And you're like, oh, for God's sakes. It's hard.
It is. I was watching and this new Netflix movie that I watched the trailer for with Eddie Murphy and Jonah Hill. I forgot what the name of the film was, but it's a comedy. And I was watching this one scene where they were in the car together. And the first thing I was thinking was, Jonah Hill, the same guy who maybe 15 years ago was like doing the biggest motions in order to like actually like be captured on the screen, is now like basically just looking at Eddie Murphy and just like saying something in the most like calm and still way, and have that be just as funny. And I think to an extent, I think possibly it's a technological aspects that we have to just kind of understand. So like in theater, that technology is just it's never going to get to that capacity where someone is this close to you and they're acting in front of you, and because it's not realistic. But in a film, like the specs are so clear now that every tiny little thing matters. Like, and the mic will capture everything. I haven't had an audition in like 2 months now.
It's the dead season. Nobody has. Nothing's going on. It's -3.
It's fine.
And it sucks. Yeah, I know, right? It's a downtime.
Yeah. No, it's great because I'm in school right now, so that's like I've just been focusing.
Well, there you go. Has there been anything that has surprised you about the entertainment industry?
The entertainment industry. I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of surprises about the entertainment industry. I don't know. I like a lot of the surprises that I am surprised by, I think, are things that are so obvious that I feel like I should have known already. Like a casting director wants to see actors act. They enjoy doing that. That's why they became a casting director. I think sometimes like I get surprised by that because like it's such a demanding job, and because you're spending so much of your time looking at actor after actor. Like you can't help but think that it can be a little like mundane, right, or a little tedious. But they love it, and so like these things like. Perhaps not everyone, perhaps not every casting director, but I think the ones who continue doing it and are really good at it are the ones who obviously love it. But I don't know, I can't think of many surprises from the industry so far. a lot of the surprises that I've learned about the industry have been on the producing side. Like as a production manager, what I've learned in school has been very surprising. Like the reason why a lot of Americans come to Canada to shoot is because of the tax incentive. And I didn't know about all that, but I was like, oh yeah, that's why there's so many things filming here. Because they make their money back just by coming to film here. They don't even have to make the money. Yeah. Canada provides these things just so that people come in and hire people here. And I think maybe it's not so, like, again, maybe it's not so surprising, but there's quite a shock factor to know that, like, a whole government entity is literally just there to, like, find ways to get people to come from other parts of the world, and in this, like, globalization that we live in now, post-globalization world, to find these incentives to, like, make location an industry rather than just film industry.
Yeah. I think, so, yeah, tell me about the schooling you're doing now. And, like, why did you pick that? And what are you hoping going for? I know she's just your kid. It's just the cutest thing. She wants to be on the camera, but she doesn't know how to do it.
She's subtle, yeah.
She's very subtle.
Cleaning herself.
I know, right?
Yeah. Anyways, so what was the question?
I'm just trying to find it. Gorgeous cat. She's a supermodel.
She is. Yeah,
my question.
Well, look at her.
It would just tell me about the schooling you're now doing, and why did you choose that over going to, say, like, acting school, theater school?
I did go to acting school. I went to Toronto. Yeah, I went to Toronto Film School. I went to film school for acting. Yeah, I know. I should have mentioned it. That's why I came to Toronto. Yeah, I went to film school. Yeah, I was able to create many connections through film school. And once I graduated there, at the film school that I work at, they're affiliated with a university, and this university just started this new degree. It's called the Bachelor of Creative Arts, and it's like their newest degree program at the school, and so they mostly accept Toronto Film School graduates, but you can be a graduate of any university or college and have, like, a diploma in any sort of arts field, and you can take this course, and it's basically catered for artists. So it's like artists in any medium. I have a lot of, like, I work with a lot of video game artists. I work with a lot of fashion designers and a lot of film production people, directors and whatnot. Writers. So basically they just put us all in one room and they teach us a little bit about financial leadership and how to, like, manage yourself as a talent, how to manage a project, how to get funding from various public, private, and crowdfunding sources. They just kind of give you a sense of it's kind of like a producer's, like, a residency, kind of similar to, but it's a bachelor's degree. Like, it's a degree. But it's only a year and a half or 2 years long, because you need the 2 years of experience in a schooling, in a different arts field. So I have an acting diploma from Toronto Film School, and in June I will have graduated from this university and have a degree in creative arts. And then my parents will be like, all right, great.
You got the expensive paper on your wall. Hooray!
Yeah, yay, $50,000. Love that. Oh, it's so great. No, I think it'll be useful because I've learned so much about how to produce now, and I already have, like, jobs lined up, people I want to, like, stage manage with, and I know this production company, this theater company that is now starting to be on the rise, and they're looking for an operations manager. So, like, these types of jobs I would love to do, and it would be a way for me to kind of, like, step away from aquatics a little bit and focus more on the production side. But also I am a first aid instructor as well. So, and I do, like, teach leadership courses. So, like, I can instruct a lifeguard on how to become a lifeguard. So I would probably start doing leadership courses rather than lifeguarding and working with the city. if it was the case where like I would actually utilize this degree. But ideally, I just want to do theater. I just want to act on stage.
Do you have any advice for anyone who is interested in pursuing a career in acting, but also balancing another job, another career like you are currently doing?
Sure. Yeah, I think I've always told people this. A human can do more than one thing at once. Like we are capable at multitasking, though it is difficult. It is something that we can do. So like, might as well do it. So don't think that you're incapable. Like just try to always remind yourself every day. Like as humans, we are able to do this. Many people can do 2, 3, 4 things at once, and so if they can do it, I can. I've always had that mentality, so I feel like that kind of helps me. As someone who is going to school, is an actor, works a partially full-time job, and like tries to stay active within the industry as well, I know how to time yourself. Time management and scheduling is so important. If you don't like this, if it wasn't for this phone, I would be so lost in this world. And if it wasn't for the calendar thing, like I would miss so many things. There's like, if one thing goes out of place or I forget to like adjust one thing, then like it can be a little bit of a crisis to try and manage. But luckily, I've been pretty like on top of it. After a point, it just kind of becomes like a habitual thing. So yeah, just manage yourself well, and commit 100% to everything that you're doing all the time. Like there's like this idea that like, okay, in order to like be a mom, right? Like, and I've done a little bit of reading on how mothers are able to work and are able to still like live their life while having to take care of a whole person. And the main thing is just be able to like focus on exactly on what it is that you're doing right now, nothing else. So if you're thinking about your kid while you're at work, then you're not going to get much done at work, and people that you're going to be working with are going to have a hard time working with you. But if you focus, if you set up systems that make it so your focus is only on what it is that you're doing now, then you're able to succeed a little bit better, and then you're able to actually kind of be more calm because you're present, and you're not sort of like stressing a little bit over external things that are around you. But yeah, just commit really, and ask many people for their opinions. Don't just listen to me. And if in 3 years you like it, I don't know. I'm a big advocate for like do what makes you happy for at least 3 years. And if in 3 years it stops making you happy, then it's a successful venture that just happened to only last 3 years. But just kind of just don't let it like bring you down at the end of the day, because that's not fun.
I love that. I think there's a weird idea of failure with a lot of things. And if I don't get X, Y, Z in my career, then I've failed. Or, this relationship and then we broke up and it was a failed relationship. It still happened. It was still an experience that you had, your life that you had.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You can look at it as a regretful thing, or you can look at it as a thankful thing. And I just choose thankful because it's easier. It's less effort to have to like put yourself into the idea of like, oh, I regret doing that. I'm sure, like I don't believe that no one has any regrets ever, because I think we've all done some things that are like, maybe a little cringy or like hurt somebody, and it's okay to feel regretful for that. It's important as a human to feel regret, but you can't feel regretful over the things that you have tried to do and that just were not out of your control. You can't regret how you feel about a situation just because it's not what society deems to be okay. I regret not pushing through acting and trying it just because I didn't feel happy doing it anymore. I felt too stressed. No, if you feel too stressed, then that's great. Then it's great that you found a way to stop that stress from happening, because your own health is more important than what society deems to be okay.
That's powerful. I like that a lot.
Right? I feel like that's pretty like common sense, right?
Yeah, it is, but it isn't, right? Like when you say it out loud, you're like, well, yeah, of course it's easier to be thankful. That's it's so much easier, and I'm lazy, and I'd rather it be easy than, regret's annoying and exhausting.
Yeah, exactly. And it takes too much time.
Takes too much time. We don't have time for that.
Takes too much time. Like I like that a lot. I can't spend time regretting things because then I'm not gonna get to enjoy what I'm doing now.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
I have a like that friend that I told you about, the actor. He is so good at what he does, but he, like I said again, I said like he's kind of like self-critical of himself. But I see that he tries every day to find like a reason to smile, a reason to just kind of like give himself some sort of light. But he is that kind of guy who kind of lets himself be consumed by his own, like little tiny regrets that don't matter, like how I presented myself to someone I just met, like not that big of a deal. You can let go of these little things, right? Yeah.
Tell me about the craziest, best, most memorable on-set or audition experience you've ever had.
Sure. I have a couple. I'll give you a mini one, and then I'll give you the audition one. So when I was in grade 10, I did a play called "And Then There Was One." It was a slapstick kind of like mocking this whole idea of a murder mystery. It was like one of those plays. And in the very first scene, I'm playing the lead character. And in the very first scene, I go to my fiance or my wife, the other person who lives in the house, and I scare her. And in the very last second, right before I went on stage, I decided I'm going to put on a mask, and she's not going to expect it, even though that's something we've never rehearsed. And so I had to slap on a mask, but while I put on the mask, I slap it on my head too hard, and my nose starts to bleed. And and I didn't know this at the time. So I went on stage, and I feel like something running, but I think, I'm just like maybe sniffly a little bit. It's Edmonton, it's cold. And so I have like this like clipboard in my hand with white paper on it, and we're talking about what we have to do in the day. And then I'm like, oh my god, and later in this whole scene, I have to actually like introduce the rest of the characters and bring them into the house one by one. But instead of me opening the door and answering the first guest who arrives, I tell the other my fiance, I tell her to go answer the door while I go clean up. and so I just kind of threw her under the bus, and I was like, go do my whole scene, and I was gonna go figure this out. And she powered through. She was a trooper. Like we rehearsed the show so much, and this is why repetition is important, because to a certain extent, like even passively, when like you're watching the other person do a scene you're not even in, you'll understand what the scene's about, and you'll know how to like kind of push it through. And she did it. Like, sure, they missed a couple lines, and all the other actors were so confused while they were talking to the girl, not the guy. But the audience didn't think it was anything out of the ordinary. I asked my brothers. I said, "Did you guys see what just happened?" They're like, "What? It was a cool play." And then I was like, "The nosebleed." And they were like, "Oh, that wasn't scripted." And I was like, "No." Yeah,
I hit her so much. Anything
right?
can happen. It's the best.
Anything can happen. It was great. And then I come back on stage with like a paper in my nose, or like a paper towel in my nose, and I just continue on with the scene like nothing happened. Oh man,
very amazing.
Yeah, that was a pretty fun story. Like that's my favorite story to tell. I did that. That was from grade 10. That was my first year acting. But my most recent crazy story, I auditioned for a character for a one-man show, a one-man play, which is being put on at the Grand Theatre in London, Ontario, currently. And so this play is an adaptation of a book about a person called Abu Bakr, who was a refugee who came to Canada in 2016 or 2017 perhaps. and he came from Syria. He's a Syrian refugee, and he's also from Syria, though he grew up a big portion of his life in Jordan. So when he came to Canada, he went to Edmonton, and we actually went to school together. And so I got to like talk to him a little bit, and we got to kind of like I was the school's like liaison for the Syrian refugees. I would just kind of like help them like navigate through school their first week. So I got to like actually like meet Abu Bakr and a couple other kids that he ended up becoming really close friends with. And I think even my dad has met his dad before, perhaps, if I'm not mistaken. But anyways, like I didn't think too much of it. Grade 12 comes around, this book comes out, it's called Holmes, and basically the school counselor at our school wrote this book about Abu Bakr with him. They kind of like wrote like a little memoir from his journey to Canada. Someone at the Grand London, or the artistic director at the Grand London, at the Grand Theatre, read the book, loved it so much, and they decided to adapt it. And so when they adapted it, I got called in to play the part. And for like maybe 45 minutes, me and the director were just talking about how crazy of a coincidence it is that I went to the same high school and that I actually know this kid, and that I ended up auditioning for him to play him. Right. Unfortunately, I didn't get to play the part yet, but this is why I love theater, because not one person can just play the part. Like it can go on past just this one show. And you know, becomes an actual play that's copyrighted, and this person can license it and put it on themselves. So like it is a career goal of mine to play this character because I have such a personal connection to it. But it is something that probably like I think I left the audition thinking that I didn't get the part just because I was too close. And then I got called back, and then I was like, oh, I got the part. There's no way no one else got this part. And then lo and behold, Nabil comes in and woos them away, and fully deservedly like gets this role that I cannot wait for him to like put on and see it and see what he does with it. He's such a great actor. Like when I saw him do Martyr, I was like,
oh, shout out to Nabil.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah.
That is an incredible story. Like,
right? And these things, they happen so often in my life. These tiny little moments. Like one time there was, I look up at the fire alarm that's going on, and I look at my roommate and I'm like, is this fire alarm ever going to turn off? And then it just turns off. Like these little moments.
Yeah. And wow. I was just say the world is so small. Globalization is image.
Yeah.
But the entertainment industry is so small. Even though we feel like there's so many actors, and then people, but like, I don't know, it's so tiny, and I think especially like the good ones are so tiny, right? Like those of us who, and I'm putting myself in this category narcissistically, I'm putting you in this category, who like are so supportive and kind, and like, you know, we're gonna go see Nabil in every play he's ever been in, right? Like just supporting each other makes it even tinier, because like you want to hang out with people who are going to support you, and vice versa.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Who doesn't want to be around someone who boosts them, right?
Exactly. And I think Canadian actors are such a new baby industry in Canada, like it's compared to LA, that we do ourselves a disservice if we are not supporting each other.
Going against each other, yeah.
Exactly. You have to, like, because we're against the like juggernaut Los Angeles actors and New York actors. Like, we have to support each other.
Stick together, yeah.
You have to.
And I don't know. I just think, again, like that whole point of like why waste energy not supporting each other when supporting each other is so much more easier. It's so much more fun. Yeah, it's so much more fun. One time I was working with the city, and I had a little bit of a disagreement with one of the customer service representatives, and so I approached him with kindness, and I tried to kind of understand his point of view of the situation, and he seemed kind of frustrated that the patrons were not giving him the time of day, you know, patrons can tend to be a little bit, depending on who it is. It's a public pool, so we get a big mixture of people, and not everyone's going to be nice, though most people are. And the way that I approached him was with a sense of kindness and empathy, and I think he was like, "Oh, no one talks like that. Like, why are you being so fake towards me right now?" That's what he told me, and he was a kid. He's 15 years old, this guy. And so like I get it out, like, you know what? I understand that you're frustrated right now. And so I just kind of took a step back. But my party was like, man, like, how else am I going to approach if not with kindness? Like, how would I talk to you then? And I didn't know how to approach him. I felt at a loss as a supervisor to try and connect with my with the customer service representative, because I didn't know how to react to what he said. Totally.
Well, and like how sad that he didn't know what you were doing, because like had he not ever witnessed kindness before?
I mean, I'm sure he has. I'm sure he has. I think maybe to an extent, I can tend to be a little bit like very like by the book, and that can come off as a little fake or a little like too trained, as one might say, like not as spontaneous because you spend so much time reading the lines.
Yeah.
So perhaps I did come off as inauthentic, but I just came from a sense of trying to understand what he was going through. And maybe, you know, other supervisors that he's worked with have just been more direct, like, no, don't do this, do this. And so maybe he was caught off guard with that. Yeah, but him and I, he was fine. Like later on in the day, he apologized. I apologized, and we figured things out. And I just told him, you know, when in doubt, just blame the patron. Because it's all the patron's fault.
Well, I think, you know, I kind of wonder about if he was expecting you to come at him with anger, and so he had made that up in his mind that was going to happen, and so he was easily able to kind of paint you as a villain. And when you didn't, that probably took him off guard and was like unexpected. And when things are unexpected, that's when you kind of go like, this is not the thing I made in my brain. This is not the schema that I thought. Then that would lead to, you know, like confusion, which would, I guess, project out as anger, right? So you didn't. But you know what was in the plan.
Maybe not at that moment, but I think, you know, I noticed a sense of growth in the way he worked later, because he started to kind of be more patient with patrons, and if he was having troubles with the like point of sale system, he would right away just like tell me, just go deal with it, and he would like leave the room rather than like escalating the situation. He just understood that he was able to trust me, and perhaps maybe like it was that interaction that we had that helped him get there. Yeah.
Those are things you remember, right? Even if you were frustrated in the moment, further down the line, you're going to remember that. Be impacted by it. That's pretty powerful.
Yeah. You'd be surprised. More often the situations I have as a lifeguard are with my patrons. Are with my coworkers rather than with my patrons.
Any public facing like job, I think, it's a trip.
To your coworkers, they're the ones that get to you. Well, I mean, I was gonna ask you, like, how is it working in a hospital? Like, what's that kind of dynamic as being the person who administers the help?
It's, you know, it's very similar, right? Like, I think when you were saying you deal a lot more with your colleagues than you do with the patient, I think that's 100% true, because there is a bit of compartmentalizing and separation between like colleagues versus patients, so you act a different way. I think, you know, working in the hospital has definitely changed since the pandemic, right? How can it have not? Mm-hmm. But I think, like, I remember learning something when I was in medical school, and it was the term "kill them with kindness" and give them no reason to be mad at you. And again, similar to what you were saying, right? Like, I think coming at it from being kind and trying to understand is way less stressful and energy saving. Way more energy saving than coming at it and matching anger with anger. Mm-hmm. And it's hard because, like, the part of your brain that wants to be angry is like that lizard brain that is saying like fight or flight, and you shut off the rationalizing part of your brain. So it does take that little extra step initially to be like, no, be kind. But in the long run, it's way less exhausting. way less exhausting.
Yeah.
Then I'm exhausted enough. I don't want to add on more stress.
12-hour days. Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. Yeah, how busy?
Yeah, it's just, yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have any final words of wisdom or advice?
I think I said everything I had to say when you asked me about how to manage more than one thing. I guess, I don't know. Don't let ego and pride get in the way of having a good time. There's no shame in being wrong, and so I'll leave you with this. I'll say there's two things that you can do to be a good person. You can admit that you were wrong, and do it often. And I could be wrong.
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. And thank you, Ahmed, for being my guest this week. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your incredible story with me and my guests. I am so, so happy that we met through the Simcoe County Theater Festival. You are an absolute joy, and I'm so excited to continue celebrating and cheerleading your career. Oh, you're just such a gem, such a gem. I hope you will all tune in next week for another episode of Second Act Actors. Bye.